They try to dismiss all of this as a conspiracy theory. Here is Barry Weiss, Jewish Zionist propagandist Barry Weiss, says, oh, it's not a conspiracy, actually. Yes, we are behind it.
Well, look, anti-Semitism is the oldest hatred in the world. It's not just a hatred. It's not just a normal prejudice. It's a kind of conspiracy theory. Well, that's the thing. The Jewish connection to the refugee is not a conspiracy. That's something that we're very, very proud of. The organization that Robert Bowers was constantly calling out is an organization called HIAS, which brought people, including Sergey Brin, to this country. It started in the 1880s to bring Jews who were fleeing the pogroms of Eastern Europe. Now they help Jews and non-Jews all over the world fleeing persecution. I met a man in Arizona on Sunday, a Jew from Cairo, who was helped out of Egypt following the 1967 war. This synagogue exemplified those values. It participated in something called Refugee Shabbat. The previous Saturday, it was one of the participating synagogues nationally. And the concept, you know, as in all Jewish synagogues that reflect the most sacred of Jewish values, is the value of hachnasat orchim, of welcoming the stranger, and especially of welcoming the weakest in our community, which there's no weaker category in our society than the refugee. And we're really, really proud of that.
Do you see any sign of that attitude changing after this attack?
Absolutely not. The opposite is expose the values of our Jewish community and, frankly, of Pittsburgh to the world. And, you know, I predict that Jews, not only in Pittsburgh.
Despite being only 2% of the population, Jewish NGOs exercise disproportionate influence, bringing in migrants counter to the majority that oppose replacement migration. And then groups like the ADL say, oh, we need unlimited immigration, and if you oppose our immigration, you're a white supremacist, and we're going to ban you everywhere. Meanwhile, they're exactly the opposite for for Israel and ADL. The ADL on white nationalism, they say white nationalism, a euphemism for white supremacy, defining a country. So you have to just be happy with them demographically replacing white people in all white countries. Otherwise, you're a white supremacist. The people that think they're chosen by God and have one and are complete double standards and hypocrisy for what they do for their immigration policy in Israel. And what the Bible says, the people that must be kept separate, as the Bible says. And then for them, they say, oh, Zionism is a nationalist movement. Zionism is the Jewish national movement for self-determination. And then where's the quote where they say, like, you should never expect us to want to become a minority in our own countries or something like that. The ADL says that with no without even blinking.
Many people of European background are looking for those who are responsible, wish to blame, find the people they can blame and attack for what has been going on over, in some cases for decades, in other cases more particularly over the last few years. And it is true, unfortunately, and I think this needs to be frankly admitted by Jews all over the world, that there are, without doubt, Jews.
He's admitting it. Here we go. Here's the Barbara Specter moment, and we'll play her next.
This needs to be frankly admitted by Jews all over the world.
Don't call me a conspiracy theorist now.
That there are, without doubt, Jews involved in those movements and those organizations, very often NGOs, etc., who promote this phenomenon of third world immigration into the Western countries.
It's Israelis.
And
Israel aid, bringing them into Europe.
Of these Europeans and Americans is that the Jews are behind this policy, that this is some kind of Jewish conspiracy to water down white American or white European societies, or to inflict irreparable damage on these societies. In some cases, I've seen claims made by such people that the Jews are doing this deliberately as an act of revenge against the European nations who...
Well, they want revenge against Edom for sure.
Who discriminated against the Jews for not just for centuries, but actually one could say for millennia.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the...
She means white. Europe's not going to be white anymore. They need multiculturalism, is what she says. And she's not some fringe lady with no influence or power. she was sent to Sweden to go and set this up. And then she gets invited to Israel for their common destiny meeting with the Rothschilds under the auspices of the king, or of the king of Israel, the president of Israel. She goes and meets with the Rothschilds in Israel. That's the type of elbow she rubs with.
Last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
Europe will not survive without the Jews bringing in masses of immigrants. That's literally what she just said and what she believes, and that is what their agenda is. Here's Highest Now Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. The one thing all the rabbis can agree on is unlimited immigration in America and in European countries.